Kurzgesagt, Kurzgesagt, and this is not an anti-meat video, but channel Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. Yes, new Kurzgesagt video. Why is my tongue slipping? I don't know. But yeah, I guess he already made a meat video, and I guess he got some backlash in that one, so he has to put like, this is not an anti-meat video. Yeah, if he's making a meat video, it's gonna be somewhat anti-meat in it. I guess he's gonna show silver lining there. If you like meat, I'm a vegetarian guy, so yeah, it doesn't really apply to me. But let's see, it's gonna be interesting. It's always like awesome to see nuance behind things, right? It's not just clear. In life, nothing is clear cut, right? Oh, this is bad and this is good. That shit is never work. So yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Let's watch it.
We've all heard the arguments against meat, and yet in the EU and US, only between 1 and 6% of people don't eat it. Meat is just too tasty, convenient and ingrained in our culture for most of us to consider giving it up. Also, food is personal and nobody likes to be morally lectured. At the same time, we love animals. Most of us have pets and believe in animal rights. Few things make the internet as angry as animal cruelty.
We love animal who we want to love. Anything else, like, we just draw the line, like, fuck these animals and I'll care about these animals. Oh, deer population is rising just for the good of like the community. Let's hunt deer, okay? But yeah, cats and dogs might as well be human, and for some, and nowadays I'm seeing that rising, even more important than human apparently.
Both are true. We love meat and we love animals. Unfortunately, most animals we eat live in truly horrible conditions. We don't torture them for fun, but because it makes meat just a little bit more incredibly cheap. If we all paid just a tad more, we could avoid most animal suffering, often just for a few pennies per meal. Disclaimer: farming is complicated. Many farmers are genuinely trying to give their animals the best life possible, but they're trapped in a complex system with extreme...
Yeah, it's not farmers' fault. Obviously, farming is much more nuanced, and you can't ask farmers to give up everything just for the sake of certain thing. Let's just vaguely say that. Because farmers have to like worry about their budget, their profit. Like in the end of the day, they have to make something. And one thing I realized, like in farming, that a lot of times farmers get screwed where they don't even make much. Like, why are they doing that in the first place? And they have to run home. They have family as well. So in the end of the day, it's all up to government. Government is made of people, essentially. So it's up to people, not the farmers themselves.
Extreme market pressure to keep prices low. No two countries have the same standards, no two farms are equal, and solid data is often scarce. We've done our best to combine data from different regions and the prices you pay in the end. To keep things simple, we're going to classify farming practices into 3 broad groups: decent, prisons, and torture camps.
Damn.
This is a bit sketchy, and you've probably seen many more categories in the supermarket, like...
I love it, the middle point is prison, okay? What is about torture camp, okay?
Organic or grass-fed. We'll come to that later. So, fellow omnivores, what would it cost us to avoid animal torture and still have our fried chicken? Chickens. At any given time, there are about 26 billion chickens alive on Earth, as many as all other birds combined. Chickens seem dumb, but they're social, can communicate, solve problems, and feel empathy. And
fuck you. I mean, seriously, not to Kurzgesagt, to the people who once suggested chicken might as well be vegetable. Like, they're stupid. I was seeing like even Top Gear episode where like in news section, they talk about that. In many places where like, oh, chickens might as well be vegetable type of shit. Really? Really? You like chicken, just say it, right? Don't make up shit like that. That's an animal, right? Who can think.
And yet, we keep the vast majority in insane torture. Let's start with eggs. Worldwide, about 90% of laying hens live in torture camps, crammed in extremely tight cages where they can barely move. They're unable to show any natural chicken behavior like nesting, roosting, foraging, or pecking at the ground, so they become extremely frustrated and end up hurting each other badly. To stop this, many farms clip their beaks. In the US and Europe, Legal bans and consumer initiatives have improved the situation a lot in the last few years, but still, more than 50% of hens remain in cages. The insane thing is that this doesn't even save a lot of money. Let's say a dozen eggs costs you around €360 or dollars, 30 cents per egg. How much does it cost to free the hens? The main alternative to cages are barn systems. Hens are still kept indoors but have twice as much space and roam freely. Barns are prisons. Still not amazing, but so much better. In the EU, barns increase the consumer price by about 2 cents per egg. The somewhat decent alternative is free range, where
2 cents? You don't have 2 cents? I get it, capitalism, even a cent matters in capitalism. But come on now, right? That's where people argue like capitalism, if done right, is great, but if not, it can run away. And that's what that is. Like, you can't give up 2%, 2 cents basically. That's just better, man. Come on. Like, you want to eat chicken, great. Like, but just, like, do something with it. It's good for you. All this bird flu and shit, it comes out because of all this, like, like jam-packed together and all this. I remember, like, I don't know what, was it last week, tonight? I don't know. But I saw that whole thing where they're just, like, all jam-packed together, can't even walk because there's no space. Anxiety in chickens are much higher. It just wasn't then like, okay, bird flu happens. Of course it happens.
where hens are allowed outdoors, often with proper access to vegetation. In the EU, this increases the price by about 7 cents per egg. Housing aside, one of the cruelest practices is chick culling. Male chicks don't lay eggs, so they're killed right after birth, usually by gassing or grinding. This is a really widespread practice used for caged, barn and even organic eggs. 7 billion baby chickens are killed this way each year. France.
Look, man, I'm sure people will tell me something in the comments. Oh, this and that. I don't give a fuck, man. This is just horrendous. If something's alive, something has eyes, something can walk around, something can run away in fear if it detects fear, and then you do shit like this, just like streamline or grind it up. Oh, okay, let's just just simply grind it up. I don't care if you mainstream something. That doesn't make it any less horrendous. What the hell, man? I'm a vegetarian. I'm alive. Look at the muscles on me. Are you fucking kidding me? Right? Like, you need all this shit. I guess do you. I don't know, man. I'm sure people will already typing as I'm saying this, but I don't care.
And Germany have banned this, so many breeding eggs here are scanned early and only female birds hatch, which may have increased costs by only 2 to 5 cents per egg. So if you pay 85 cents more for a dozen eggs, you can make a difference between serious chicken torture and pretty decent chicken lives. And for another 60 cents, you can help end chick culling too. Chicken meat is a different story. Most meat chickens today are genetic freaks, bred to reach amazing weights incredibly fast. Their internal organs are under a huge amount of stress and they can't even walk properly because of their weight, which causes them a lot of pain for much of their lives. It's hard to give exact numbers here, but if farmers were to switch to breeds that grow slower and suffer far less, a serving of chicken breast that you buy at $1.50 would become 9 cents more expensive in the US. 90% of meat chickens in the EU live in prisons or torture camps. They're kept indoors in extremely crowded conditions with sometimes dozens of birds per square meter, often in the dark and with poor ventilation. So what if we moved them all to prisons? One EU study found that giving
this just right here is fucked up. And it's not just me saying it. There are many people in the account where they were eating meat and all this like chicken and everything. They saw the conditioning like poultry like that. And they stopped eating that, at least for a certain amount of time, because they can't unsee that. So it's just not just me. Even the people who eat it are horrified by this. Come on. Don't give me this shit. Plants are alive too. I don't care, man. Of course everything's alive if you make a argument for it, right? But there's a fucking difference. Come on. You know that.
% more space, perches, fresh air and daylight would increase the price by another 13 cents per serving. Probably less than 5% of meat chickens live free range in relatively decent conditions. This meat is actually noticeably more expensive, double the price of regular chicken. But chicken is the cheapest meat, so depending on the cut, you'd pay 35 cents to €1 or $1 more for a serving of chicken that had a decent life. Pigs. Pigs are basically dogs. They're as intelligent, social and playful as our wolf buddies and make lovable pets. So pigs really feel how they live.
I've seen people pet pigs, man. That should be like obvious red flag for people. If you can pet something, it means it's intelligent enough to be petted by you. There's a reason why dog made panics people. Well, I don't know where, but like in Korea or something, they do it, right? I don't remember, like, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I heard it somewhere, Top Gear or something. I didn't want to Google that shit, but like that's something that panics people. Why? Because it's a pet, it's a dog, right? Like you know all the dog things. If a pig can be that, and you still want to kill pig, like at that point you're just like picking and choosing. You don't even care.
Live and arguably have it the worst of all animals we eat. Probably more than 90% of all pigs live in torture camps. They spend their entire lives indoors in extremely crowded spaces on concrete floors without straw or bedding. Since this is far from what they need, they get frustrated and often fight. Piglets have their tails docked to stop tail biting. Most males are castrated after birth so that their meat will taste better, often without pain relief to save time. Mothers are kept in crates, extremely tight metal straitjackets where they can't move at all. This leads to extreme suffering for the mother and for the piglets, which are held in a barren area separated by metal bars and taken away at just 3 weeks old.
Yeah, Jesus is coming back and it will kill you all. And don't ask why. Jesus will just tell you, you know why. Come on, man.
Imagine treating dogs like that. First, let's get to the prison level. Getting rid of crates would raise the cost of a €2 serving of pork by about 20 cents. Anesthesia for castration
That's
costs
nothing.
almost nothing, around 1 cent per kilogram of meat. And a study in Denmark found that giving pigs more straw and bedding material and 30% more space and other things that are more animal friendly would increase the price.
A kilogram of meat implies that that's like, even if you eat like a 300 grams of serving, that's like 3 meals. You can add that cent for 3 meals? Come on.
Per serving by another 20 cents. This is still an awful life for an animal this intelligent, but obviously much better, for 40 cents more per serving. Going one level further and giving pigs outdoor access for at least 40% of their lives and 300 to 400% more space indoors would increase the price per serving by another 80 cents. Just over 1% of pigs in the EU live in these or similar conditions. We can't know if this is really okay for
It's surprising to me that in EU, where a group of people in EU, the EU people, regulate the shit out of everything. That's why all the EU regulations and like all the vehicle regulation, that's why new engines have to be different. That's why like you can't even like, even in India, like BS5, BS6, all these like regulations come up, they basically follow what EU does. Otherwise, nobody would care. Nobody would give a shit. But in EU, you can't basically just let go of things. EU even like made Apple switch to USB-C, which they were never going to do, but they now did because of that shit, right? Even in there, like 99% are living in torture. Like, what are they? They are the one who can do this. They are the one who can like force regulation, and even they are not doing it, which means there is no hope. You can't expect anyone else to do it because if EU can do it, nobody's going to do it.
such a smart and social animal, but it starts resembling something decent. And all for about $1.2 or euros more per serving of pig. Cows. Cows raised for meat have it the best because they usually spend about 2/3 of their lives outdoors, making their lives pretty good. If they were in the wild, it'd be basically the same thing but less safe. Their lives are far
The
from
whole reason is because they're much bigger than humans. It would become nearly impossible to contain them if you basically make their life living hell like that. You can't even control them if that's the case. Like they will be like crazy and like uncontrollable. Like cows can kill people, right? If go out of hand. So you know, like if you're bigger than human, if physically it's like much bigger and stronger, yeah, you're probably gonna be like treated better. That's what it is.
perfect though, especially the end. The vast majority of cows spend the last months of their short lives in finishing feedlots, either prisons or torture camps where they're fattened to reach their slaughter weight as fast as possible. Probably less than 5% of beef cattle in the US have
There was a Family Guy clip, thing, because Seth MacFarlane is like that, who'll depress you like that, which shows like, okay, a cow gave a birth to calf instantly dropped on a conveyor belt, went to the like machine that grinds it up, and directly like streamlined that meat into a burger. That's 2, 3, let's just say overweight people like started to eat it. That was like a so in your face type of like a like shit. Like that's what Family Guy does. Nothing subtle. Family Guy's intensified like that.
Have lifelong access to outdoor pasture. And yet, a recent German study found that it only increases the price of beef by around 15%. The life quality of cows varies widely even within countries and regions, depending on the available land, climate and farming traditions. So it's really impossible to make more easy and cheap suggestions to make their lives better. Dairy cows do have it much worse. They're often kept indoors for most of the year and suffer pain, sole ulcers and lesions from standing on concrete. But once again, none of these things seem to be needed to have affordable milk. In Germany, outdoor pasture increases the price of the milk by about 10 cents per litre. We could go on with many other animals and farming practices, but the summary is clear. For the animals we eat the most, upgrading their living conditions from outright torture to somewhat decent may cost you about 15% more for beef and milk, 50% for eggs and pork, and 100% for chicken meat. The meat of the issue.
That is not that much. Even with a 100% chicken, chicken is way too cheap. You can afford that shit, and it's your benefit, man. All the like fucking viruses, like I can't even process that. Like I never got bird flu because why the fuck would I? I don't eat that shit, and like yeah, it can transfer from person to person, but yeah, I'm hygienic anyway, right? So all this bird flu, this flu, that flu, all the different type of animal flus, you don't really want that shit, right? And who knows, like there are other things like silent killers, cancers and things that can happen because of this shit. All the fucking like anti this anti that you just like pump into animals and then you eat it. If you like make things like like pricier, the people who are doing it will take care of the animal better. They won't pump them with all antibiotics and shit. It's just better for you. And it's like meat is insanely cheap considering all the shit you buy, all the petroleum you put in your car just to do nothing, right? People like waste money left and right. Your phone is like $1,000, right? All the shit you do, all the electricity you burn is insanely pricey. Meat is not considering, right? And if you're like that strapped for money, like you can be conservative, eat some vegetable here, eat something there. Like you do a lot of like waste of money shit. This is not where this is gonna break my bank. Come on, really?
Issue. Opinion part. Meat has gotten so cheap that we have to torture animals to keep the prices insanely low. This really is all there is to it. Food in developed countries is the cheapest it's been in history. In the US,
Exactly.
the largest meat consumer in the world, an average person spends $337 a month on food, $88 on meat, eggs.
Not to mention, a lot of that doesn't even get consumed, by the way. 4 out of, only 3 bag out of 4 people consume, 1 bag is get wasted away. That's a statistic. Let's say you buy the all this thing, right? 25% of that food you're gonna waste somehow, averagely per person. That's statistic, right? I'm pretty sure I saw that also in like last week tonight and shit like that, right? Now you can hate John Oliver for being liberal or whatever. Statistic, he doesn't get wrong like that. Nobody calls him out on statistic. So that shit is real. So you can like be more like like efficient, not waste food and like increase the prices. Why not?
Eggs and dairy. If these became an average 50% more expensive, that would increase the monthly expenditure on food by about $43. This may sound like a lot, but relative to income, this only means paying as much for food as US consumers.
$40 per month is a lot. What job do you have? Seriously, in US, by the way. I'm not talking about everywhere else. Right? I'm not even talking about in India, right? Even in India, it's like $40 is what? 400, like 3,000, that's nothing. Even in India. What job do you have, really?
Consumers did in 1987. In Germany, the average person spends about €70 a month on meat, eggs and dairy. If we increased prices by 50% on average to make the lives of these animals better in a really meaningful way, this would rise by about €35 to about €100. If this still sounds too expensive, it may be because around 20% of all meat people buy is simply thrown away. Meat got so cheap that we often don't eat it before it goes bad. It's no longer valuable. Okay, so if you go shopping...
That statistic that I said, by the way, is 8-year-old. As soon as I said it, I'm like, wait a minute, am I outdated? Apparently not, because he just confirmed it. Still didn't change.
What can you do? It can feel like you can't do anything as an individual consumer, but this is not true. The market follows demand. So if you don't want to buy torture meat, look at the labels on holding conditions. If there is none, it is torture meat for sure. If there is, well, it's complicated. It's often unclear what different labels mean, if they're strictly enforced or legally binding. Some are great, others whitewashing. And we haven't talked about the most expensive meat so far, organic meat. You've probably noticed that many prices
Problem with today's world is like everything's streamlined. Everything has like multiple layers behind it. Multiple companies later, you get the meat in a fucking supermarket, in like Costco or whatever, right? So people are going through so many filters. In the end of the day, they don't give a shit. That's the problem. Years ago, with the barter system, like people went to the meat shop where shit is happening. You buy it from there. There is certain personal things to it. You see fucked up shit happening there. You're like, okay, I'll spend a bit more, but make condition better. Nowadays, things are becoming so like mainstream in a way that nobody cares. People are like, why would I care about global warming? All those assholes like burning like whatever that Gulf in the Gulf where the all fire shit happened, right? Was that movie about Deepwater Horizon, whatever? All that shit happened. What is my saving global warming gonna do, right? What is my not using gas gonna do? Okay, what is my not buying this meat gonna do? There's too many people out there. This is the problem in today's world. Like nobody can put their finger to anything because things are behind so many layers. That's what the today's propaganda as well. Left and right wing, both sides, right? Oh, that's fake news. This is fake news. Oh, by the way, those are like, what are you called, crisis actors? Because there are too many layers after you consume things.
estimates we've given here don't quite match your experience in the supermarket. This is in part because some retailers consider ethical products luxury goods and charge an even higher price, and also because many labels like organic, natural, ecological, bio, or the worst of all, biodynamic, often contain a lot of extras or pseudoscience that have
What is dynamic? Is it bio or not? What the fuck does biodynamic mean? Okay.
nothing to do with animal welfare. Many, but not all of these labels include some of the best practices mentioned before, but not necessarily all. Organic
All they have to do is like feed them, not even that probably, but feed them organic grass or something, which basically just means sending them out in the field, eat grass. That's bio enough. They can just claim like, okay, this is organic, biodynamic. In the end, they could be all torturous camps, and they're still gonna put like label there, organic. Somebody called them, oh, they just eat organic food. That's what we meant. They are not pumped by antibiotic food. They just ate grass, ground grass shit type of thing. There you go. That's the fucked up thing.
brands often include, for a lack of a better word, stupid measures, like forbidding GMO feed. As we covered in another video, banning GMOs doesn't do anything good for you or the animals. It just makes your food more expensive and seem more natural, while you are consuming unnatural animal breeds living a deeply unnatural life. Unfortunately, the label situation in many countries is extremely confusing, often on purpose. All too often we don't know what we're really buying. So, grudgingly, if you can afford it and want at least a high chance of torture-free meat, go for the label. If you can afford it, buy organic. If you can afford it and have time, research local farms and get your meat from a place you've seen yourself. There's one exception, too good not to mention: mussels. They suck up carbon and filter water, making coastlines cleaner. Calling mussels dumb is giving them too much credit. With no central nervous system and probably no thoughts or pain, they're basically moss. Really, everyone should eat more mussels. Okay, let's wrap up. You don't need to be vegan.
I like how they. Because I said, okay, save all this and but fuck muscles. That's what I did just there. Who cares about muscles? And after a few days, all the muscles looking up, and there's like a big shadow looming over. Oh, here comes a ship extracting all them because Kurzgesagt tell me to.
To think the current situation is unacceptable. The conditions of most animals we eat are hard to stomach and could all be avoided if we paid as much for meat as our parents did. Things are slowly getting better, at least in the West. Consumers can push the industry in the right direction if we bite the bullet and pay more. If you can't afford this, maybe eat a bit less meat. Don't throw meat
I can't, man. As soon as he said that, I know like a major amount of people say, fuck you, don't tell me about how much I can eat. Yeah, this video is gonna do nothing. I don't know why he posted this. This video is gonna do nothing. Nobody's gonna care. That's the fucked up part.
away. Maybe avoid the worst torture meat like pork, at least sometimes. And push for legislation that bans the most horrific practices. We can help make the lives of billions of animals dramatically better. It really is that simple. You can only advocate for better
There you go. Yeah, but go to ground.news KIN or go to original video page link and from there support this channel. Yeah, this is not an anti-meat video, but it was. In a way. I thought he was just gonna be a bit of anti-meat and just like gonna so positive of meat or something, but no, it was just like fucked up condition of the meat. You can't polish a turd. In the end of the day, it's gonna be turd. That's the problem with this concept. He has to say all these things because what else he gonna do? Either he can lie about it or say the truth, which this was. Like, it's just fucked up. The whole condition is fucked up. People can like type all they want, keyboard warriors, whatever the fuck that is, but yeah, it's just fucked up. You don't need to spend that much money improving their condition. It's just barely anything. You can do it. Problem is nobody's gonna do it. Nobody's gonna care. Nobody's gonna talk to their senators. Nobody does that nowadays, and nothing's gonna be done. But there you go. There's a fucked up part about a modern world. I guess EU can do it. We'll see. I guess I don't know if EU does it. People might follow. I don't know. Right, well, this is not an anti-meat video by channel Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. If you like my content, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.